Story time again. Gather round, gather round. This one's a doozy. All right. So New Year's Eve 2020, my wife and I were fortunate enough to sign a contract to build a pool in the house that we lived in Texas. We were really excited. It was a great night, great start to the new year, and we were really happy to be able to do that for our family and for our daughter. We were expected to break ground in around St. Patty's Day, and we were expected to be done and swimming by about Mother's Day. So a couple of months, no big deal. Now, before we signed the contract, we had interviewed something like 10 or 11 pool companies, met with them separately, had them come out to our house and look at the property and everything. We really did our diligence to make sure that we got the best price, the best quality that we could, the best design that we wanted, all the things. So we felt that we had done our diligence, and we signed the contract and we're ready to go. So in between New Year's and St. Patty's Day in 2021, Texas underwent the first ice snowmageddon that they've had in like a long time. And it was just insane. Freezing, below zero temperatures, tons of snow, tons of ice. The power grid was crazy. It was all over the news for a long time. So I'm sure everybody's aware of it. It's to some degree. And we were right smack dab in the middle of it. So that ended up delaying our breaking ground by a couple of weeks. No big deal. So we thought, okay, if we don't have it by Mother's Day, we'll have it by Memorial Day. So yay. And again, we realize how fortunate we are to even be in this position. But we're really excited, and we're like, fingers crossed, no more delays. We're good to go. So a couple of weeks before we actually are set to break ground, and after this winter Armageddon storm in Texas, we get the architectural drawings for part of the space that we had. We were going to do like a covered patio area kind of extended off of our roof. And we had already seen like the 3D drawings and the 3D drone videos that they render for you on the front end to kind of show you what it's going to be like. So we already knew what the design was, and we were just ready to kind of review it and sign off on it. Well, we get this drawing, and it's not a patio extension. It is a freestanding gazebo that's designed to go like somewhere else in our yard. And we're like, what the hell, man? Like, we're supposed to break ground in like a week. This isn't even close. So back and forth. We had to get the owner of the pool company involved. And they ended up giving us this drawing of a freestanding gazebo because that's what matched the price that we were quoted. So the price for this extended patio was not the price that we were quoted, even though that's what was listed on everything. And that's what we had seen pictures of and everything like that. So we had to go a month or two throughout this build process where we're arguing back and forth with the owner of the company and threatening legal action and all this stuff. And all we wanted was just to get what we paid for. That was it, to get what we agreed for. Nothing more, but nothing less. And we ended up having, the way it worked out, we ended up having to pay a little more. They paid some, and we ended up getting what we want. But that was the first mistake. We were really hot because we thought, man, we had done our diligence on the front end and we had everything ready to go and we were on top of this. And then at the 11th hour, we get something that's not even close to what we agreed on. That's the first thing. So we get that behind us. They break ground, the pool's underway. And under this little covered patio area, we just kind of built, had like a little countertop that was going to be built. And we were going to put a little grill in there, and the smoker that we've already had for a few years, going to kind of sit in this countertop. So I just happened to be home randomly one day while they were building this. And I walk out just to check on the progress. And they had completely the wrong materials, like the wrong stone, the wrong color, the wrong everything. And like I'm running out there and trying to stop everybody from doing it. They're arguing with me back and forth. I'm showing them, what we had listed on our agreement and everything. So that ended up causing another 2 to 3 week delay. And round we go. And then they finally came back out a couple of weeks later and corrected that part of it. But when they did that, they still measured incorrectly for where the smoker was going to go. So they had to fix that. So this is the third iteration of them fixing just the real basic countertop. They had spec sheets that we had given them months beforehand. They knew everything. They had come out to measure. They had photographs, like they knew what they were doing. But apparently wrong materials, wrong measurements multiple times. So that was the second thing. The third thing was when they actually did the tile work on the pool. It was completely done incorrectly. It looked like someone was getting tased with a cattle prod, and whoever was doing it, and the tiles were just jiggly. They were everywhere. It was really, really poor. And again, I know I'm ranting about tile for a pool, so I understand my place in life here, but it's part of the story. So they had to come back out and redo this huge section of tile. Had to redo that again. So that delayed it another couple of weeks. So now we went from Mother's Day to Memorial Day, and then fingers crossed that we maybe could get this done by my wife's birthday, which was in early June. We were going to have some friends over and do that as a swim. So we just blew right past that. And we were like, come on, like, what else can go wrong? We just got to get this across the finish line. We had friends coming in for the 4th of July. And the last thing that we needed to have happen after all the issues was that the pool needed to be dried out enough so that they could spray the plaster, which gives it the pool its color and texture when you step inside of it. And we had not only that crazy Armageddon winter, we had really, really historic rainfall in North Texas. So historic that it was the second most rainfall that summer in history. So the summer that we're trying to get our pool built, we cannot catch a break. So we needed to have a certain amount of time for the gunite, which is like the concrete that they use to make the shell of the pool. That needed to dry out. And what was causing a delay was on either side, obviously, was grass. And as it rained and the rain went into the grass and into the ground, it seeped into this gunite and it would cause wet spots, which is normal. And you just have to wait for the wet spots to dry out. So we're waiting and waiting. And all we needed was like a week of no rain. Now, the previous decade and a half that my wife and I had lived in Texas, we had continuous droughts for the summer, water restrictions by mid-June all the way through the summer, every single year. This year, couldn't get enough, couldn't get more rain if we asked for it. Just buckets, oceans of rain every single day. So we're just like about at our wits' end. And we had bought this fan that you could set on the ground and just blow in to try to help dry the gunite from the other side, which the pool company recommended that we do. Maybe it was a total, waste of time. But even that, like we had that going and we were like 2 or 3 days away from it being dry enough that we could spray the plaster and be all done. And our project manager was in the pool, like trying to look at something, tripped over the fan, broke it into a bunch of pieces. So like I had to run out in the late afternoon and buy another fan at Walmart and bring it back. Again, no big deal. What a wonderful place to be in that we're waiting on a pool, but just one thing after another. And then we finally ended up getting it done. No friends, our friends that showed up for the 4th of July, no pool. We just sat there, looked at the hole in the ground, and it ended up being a full month and a half after that where we got it just before my daughter's birthday in mid-August. And we were finally done and over with it, and that was it. And we really didn't have any problems with the pool until we moved and left, and who knows what's going on now. But in the moment, while we were going through that, and especially me, because I was sort of the project manager of our family on this one, there was so many things that went wrong, and I was so frustrated and so angry because I felt like both my wife and I did our diligence on the front end. We did all the hard work on the front end to make sure everything was locked in place. We were comfortable with the timeline. We had realistic expectations. We were prepared to manage through a few bumps in the road, and just throughout the entire process, just everything that could go wrong did. And it just drove me nuts, and it ended up just being so consuming. And looking back on it now, the one thing that it taught me was perspective.